So this is probably going to be the most controversial and nuanced video I've ever made. So I just ask that you consider the full context before you draw conclusions. So I'm just going to jump right in and say, I think that the Bible is really boring. So let me back up a little bit and give you some of my personal historical context with the Bible. My dad forced my siblings and I to listen to him preach the Bible a significant amount of mornings before school. Uh, wasn't really a place where we could discuss questions we had. It was more like any questions that were asked were to ensure that we were listening. It was sort of like pop quizzing, and it was very intense and serious and not fun, and definitely, again, not voluntary. So, and what was also hard about it was that everything that my dad was preaching out of the Bible was not something he was living out himself. So I would get extremely angry as a child because I was like, you don't even do this, yet you're telling me to? Like, is this some kind of joke? Like, this is like such blatant hypocrisy. Like, it was hard for me to stomach. And it's, by the way, a really difficult way to start your day. And so that was kind of how I was first introduced to it inside the home. And, I was also introduced to church in a forceful way too. So it was never God and Christianity, and my relationship with God was not something that I ever looked to as fun or as my choice or as something that I could take an active part in. It was something I felt like was really pushed on me. So, and it was riddled with hypocrisy, I think was more frustrating. So I think I had that association of hypocrisy and not having a choice, and all of that was the initial context in which I was introduced to the Bible. And so I think that that has a very deep impact on how you relate to it, especially because the things that we experience when we're young, I feel like I know they have a deeper impact. So as I got older and I wanted to pursue my own relationship with God and I tried to read the Bible on my own, I was never very successful at it. And part of that is, I think, when you grow up in the church, you hear these stories in church, and it's like, it's almost like, you can think of it like, think of a show, and you have to watch this show, like you watch the show your entire life. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. And for me, when I started to read like the Gospels have a lot of the same content in each book. Some of them have things that aren't mentioned in the other Gospels, but a lot of it's a lot of the same content but with different styles. And for me, I'm just like, okay, this is very repetitive. I wish that there was just more like different situations that were introduced and circumstances, because it says in the Bible that all of the things that Jesus did could not be contained in all the books of the world. So, I mean, I just don't understand why it was. I mean, I do understand because it's for the purpose of validity. Like, whenever you have multiple witnesses and corroboration, then that just makes the validity of whatever the text is stronger. But from reading it, I'm just like, okay, same stuff again and again and again. So it's, I don't know, it just, to me, since it's so familiar and since it's repetitive, and especially in the New Testament, it gets boring to me. I think that it, yeah, even outside of the Gospels, I just find it extremely boring. not to say that the things that are recorded there aren't impressive and incredible and amazing and miraculous, but I wrestle more with, I see things that I struggle to find God's love in, and that makes it kind of a harder thing for me to just accept. And I think I'm getting to a point more now where I'm like, okay, there's some things I'm just not going to understand, and I have to be okay with it to some extent, right? I don't necessarily believe that we can't ask God why certain things happen if we don't understand them. And that might also be a reason why I struggle to read the Bible too, is that it's a struggle. You know, it's challenging to, you know, read that God flooded the earth and all those people died. Now, it's not like they were innocent people, right? But still, it's like, man, that just seems so harsh. And, you know, I've heard the answer that Jesus is the completion and that, you know, God is a just God. So there has to be justice that's served when there's evil. But to some extent, I know I'm still learning. And so I'm going to give myself grace in that area. But for now, I'm not even really touching the Old Testament at this point, because I personally think that you need to be established in who you are as a child of God and who God is in terms of how he loves you and how he created you and how he chose you, before you start getting into those things of like, well, why did God do this? Or is God really kind if he does that? Like, I think that those are important questions and those are questions that should be answered. But I feel like once you're established in a foundation of love, you just have way more productive conversations and you have a totally different perspective that might even answer some of those questions along the way without actively addressing them. So, yeah, I have been getting frustrated ever since I decided that I really wanted to pursue an intimate relationship with God and take it very seriously, because, you know, there will be a couple days where I'll be like, oh, I got this. Like, me and God, we're cool. Like, I feel like I've got a handle on it and I'm making progress and it's good. And then the next day I'm just like, oh, this sucks. I hate this. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going anywhere. This is like 3 steps forward and 5 steps back. You know, it's very frustrating. And I believe that the reason for that is I do force myself to read the Bible, but I'm gonna say meager at best, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes every day or every other day. And regardless of my opinions or my experiences with how the Bible was presented or my feelings about it or questions about it, I know deep down the truth is the Bible is the truth, that it is powerful, that it is transformative, and it's absolutely integral to growing your relationship with God. So at this point, I am going to suck it up and I'm just going to read it. Whether it's boring, whether I feel like it, whether I have questions, whether it's repetitive, whether it's frustrating and kicks up really old things inside of me, I'm just going to trust that he's going to help me with it. And I'm going to be kind of drastic in pursuing it, because I've told you guys that I've struggled with overeating and consuming way too much sugar and also YouTube binging. Like, those have been like the top things that I know are idols in my life and are keeping me also from God through distraction and comfort and all that. So I've tried fasting before, and I've had, you know, again, like maybe small success with it uh for like a week or so, and then I try again and it's like maybe last a day or two and one of those things. And I'm recording this also sort of as like an accountability too, because I'm just so fed up with staying the same or not getting to the level that I want to with my relationship with God. And I know that that sort of feeling of like, oh yeah, it's good today, and then it's like tomorrow, is, I know at this point it's so connected to my small Bible time. I know that it's it I could be a lot further along if I was willing to push through. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be fasting sugar and fasting YouTube, and I'm just going to be really diving into the Bible like I never have in my entire life. Um, I am starting this series that I started a couple days ago. If you guys are more interested in hearing more about that, just let me know and I can show you where that is and direct you. Um, so and it's a phrase I've heard before, but it's like whenever the pain of staying the same is stronger than the pain of change, you'll change. And so I think if I'm not there, I'm very close to being there. If I'm not there, I'm pushing myself to be there because I am tired of the way things have been. And I know God is good. I know that He loves me. And I know that He represents truth. I just have a lot of lies that I believe in. Ultimately, the Bible is truth, and so that's going to be the way to combat the lies. And I vehemently also believe that a tactic of Satan is to get you to not read the Bible. And so I don't think it's any coincidence I've struggled to read the Bible. I don't think it's any coincidence that people take such issue with it in general, not just me, because Satan knows how powerful it is. If he can get you out of this pursuit of reading the Bible by convincing you it's boring, it's going to make you like primal, or that it's repetitive, whatever it is, he knows that he's completely shutting you out from truth. And I know it's not going to be boring once I really do engage with it and I'm really consistent with it and I actually put it to use. I know it's going to completely, like, radically transform my life. And so I'm telling you guys this to keep me accountable, because I'm going to do this for 30 days. It's going to be replacing the YouTube and the sugar, and it's yeah, it's gonna probably be difficult, but for with God nothing shall be impossible, right? Luke 1:37. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you understood my point of view, that I understand that it's not where it needs to be. It's not something I'm necessarily proud of, but it's also something that I've always wanted this channel to be about: honesty and saying things that you feel like you couldn't say in like church circles, because I know God is not as easily offended as we are. So I don't think that He is upset about our honesty. I think that He values it, and that's when He can actually do things, is when you are real with Him. Okay? All right. Thank you again for watching. I really love all of your comments. I really appreciate you guys subscribing. If you want to subscribe to hear more, I would love to hear from you too. And yeah, really all you guys' support and and love has meant the world to me. And yeah, I'm thinking of you guys and praying for you. Take care.